what's the secret sauce behind all that learning?
The secret sauce is meditation. The secret sauce behind everything for me is spirituality. And it is not a secret, really.
I made to the managing director very clearly that I'm not here to take his position. I'm here to support and help him.
When I think of you, I tell my friends that you not only reinvent, but you're always regularly inventing.
Exhilaration that you get when you finally crack something.
And then when finally I cracked, I was like a young kid, jumping all over. Oh my God, I got it.
Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So our theme for today is version 2.0, meaning becoming better at what you do and who you are. And today we have Nisheeta and Kewal, both dear friends of ours, and we're going to have a little conversation with them about a variety of things. So our theme for today is version 2.0, meaning becoming better at what you do and who you are. Kewal was the chairman of Union Bank and the managing director at Pfizer. And Nisheeta, of course, is a coach, and she has been instrumental in setting up all these programs and our interactions. And I would just like to welcome everybody, and let's take it from here. Nisheeta, the stage is yours.
I thought it would be a good idea if I could wear my coaching hat and fire a few questions toward you, Kewal, and toward you, Bava. Rapid fire style. Yeah? Wonderful.
Go for it.
Great. So, Kewal, you first. Bava introduced you as being former chairman of a public sector bank. And prior to that, you were MD at an MNC, Pfizer. 22 years at an MNC, and then to a public sector bank. What was the one big difference?
I think the one big difference is the culture and the people. The culture, you get a sort of a culture shock. The day one, when I went to the office, there was a big car that came to pick me up with the red light on the top and written as in the service of the government of India. And then when I reached the office, there was a red carpet laid down. There were a large number of people around, almost about 40, 50 people with flowers and bouquets and all. And they took me inside the lobby, and there was a lift waiting for me, which I went straight up to my office. And the office was as big as my house was. So that was a shock that I had.
Very warm welcome you got.
Yeah.
So how did you change the way you function, having worn an MD of an MNC hat for 22 years?
So I think the point was I made to the managing director very clearly that I'm not here to take his position. I'm here to support and help him. I'm here to bring about change in the organization, the way the public sector bank works, and move the bank towards being a very professional bank. I think that's worked, and they believed in me and they trusted me. And that's how I was able to bring about the changes there.
Okay, fantastic. And one thing that you thought or did that helped you personally navigate the change?
So it's a very simple things, but it makes a lot of changes. For example, the first day when I went to the board, there were almost about 60, 70 people in the boardroom. There are only 7, 8 directors, but there were 60, 70 people. And I met each individual and shook hands with them. That made, I just connected with them the day one. My connection with them was very strong. And then they believed in me, trusted in me, and then they brought about the change.
Beautiful. And if I may ask, one thing that might have held you back?
Yeah, one thing that held me back was not to show my power, not to work from the position of power. Because I think that's what they would have not liked it. And, the tendency is that you have been a managing director, now you're a chairman, so you start working from the position of power. I actually came down to that level to work with them.
Fantastic. Okay, Bava.
Yes.
So, we're talking about reinventing, but when I think of you, I tell my friends that you not only reinvent, but you're always regularly inventing. It's almost like every time I'm speaking to you, there is something new that you're doing. So what is this magic hat that you keep pulling things out of?
I believe that our body and our mind, our brain works on a use it or lose it principle, right? And if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And so for me, learning new stuff is kind of a lifelong thing. I don't think I've ever really spent any time not learning something new. And it can, my interests are really varied. It could be learning a new piece on the piano. It could be learning how to cook something new in the kitchen. It could be what I'm right now doing, learning how to make websites. In fact, my website babaanddinesh.in has been created from scratch by me and my friend Gauri Shankar, who helped me with the design of it. Uh, I just love to keep learning new things because that's what, according to me, keeps me young.
Okay. What's the secret sauce behind all that learning?
The secret sauce is Sudarshan Kriya. The secret sauce is meditation. The secret sauce behind everything for me is spirituality, and it is not a secret really. It is available for anybody and everybody to learn and practice and bring into their own lives.
Beautiful. So I know a lot of people who are veteran meditators. Your formula seems to be meditation plus plus. What is that plus plus?
The plus is just that I think I am innately curious. I enjoy the thrill of understanding. I enjoy the the exhilaration that you get when you finally crack something, when you finally get it just right. Oh my God, yes, that's it. And I feel that a lot of adults deny themselves this supreme pleasure simply because they are so scared to make a fool of themselves. They are so scared to fail. And in fact, our first book, Ready, Steady, Go, was all about that. It was about learning, the adventure that you embark on when you learn.
Fantastic.
Nisheeta, I just want to add what Baba said, Yeah, absolutely true. I just went through this experience during this lockdown. I was doing coaching with Marshall Goldsmith, and there was an exercise on 360 degrees. Believe me, it was very tough, very tough. It took me 8 hours to work on it. Still, I was not getting right. And every time I would make a mistake, and they didn't provide the answer. They said, you go back and find the right answers. And then when finally I cracked, I was like a young kid, jumping all over. Oh my God, I got it. Exactly the way Baba is describing.
Exactly. And it is tragic that people stop learning. Nisheeta, when our kids go through such a terrible, horrible education system, it is no wonder that they do not want to learn anymore. It is like, okay, last exam of my life done. Jai Gurudev, great, I am out of this.
Right.
And it has, according to me, the education that is being given, and we are talking about all sorts of education reforms and all that. God knows what those are. They have not percolated down to these schools.
I think your book is a good place to start for all educators.
Yeah.
But you personally, have you ever had an idea which stayed as an idea and didn't move forward?
Oh yes, quite a few.
And why?
Quite. Sometimes it is just laziness. Sometimes it is just a question of it will involve too much work to make it happen. Like today morning itself, I had this idea, and I'm happy to share it. I hope someone actually makes it. I was thinking, every time we pack a suitcase, you kind of put it like that, vertical, and then you drag it, and when you open it, it's always such a mess. Everything is all over the place. Why don't they create suitcases that you pack vertically? You could have some shelves or something like that, and you could put things like that in it so that everything remains where it's supposed to be. It is just my, Virgo OCD-ness that wants everything to be the way I packed it when I packed it. It's just an idea that came. Now, I know I'm not going to do anything about it. I know that. And it's fine, you know.
That's fantastic. Kewal, what do you think about reinventing?
I think, what the lessons we have learned from COVID is one major lesson is to reinvent yourself. And what has COVID done is it's just that event was unexpected, unlikely event. I just tell my board members, and my CFOs in various boards, I said, did you ever visualize the risk of COVID in your life? We make a risk matrix all over, discuss risk. None of us ever thought about this risk, that there would be closure even for 7 days. Forget about for 7 months or so. So one thing that came in is that when these things attack you, the entire fundamental assumptions on which your strategy, your career, your life is based, it gets evaporated. The moment that happens, what do? I was listening to Hari Menon of Big Basket, and he said that for first 2 days, he was completely frozen. He didn't know what to do. And in the fear and anxiety, he said he just couldn't think what to do. Then he realized, look, I can't be sitting down and saying what to do. I need to do something, but I don't know what to do. But I still need to know what I should do. And that's when he started involving people and talked to his own staff and people, talked to his networks and said, what should be done now? And how do we do it? And within 10 days, they were able to hire 12,000 people. And within 10 days, they were able to start their operation and service. That's the lesson that we are learning out of this lockdown. In terms of leadership, the biggest lesson that you learn is you have this type of leaders, basically technical leaders and adaptive leaders. The technical leaders are very logical in their thinking. Baba is also an IIT guy. So very logical in thinking. Whereas the adaptive leaders are the one who change their position very fast. For technical leaders, the strategy and execution is all about that. For adaptive leaders, it's purpose and values. And people are saying, what is my purpose? And what are the values that I have? And how do I live with those purpose and values? That change itself will bring about change in the way we are looking at people. We're looking at the business. We'll talk about this more. Nisheeta, you can take it forward.
Yes. What you said earlier makes me want to put out a question actually to all our viewers. If you were to think of an axis with being reactive at one end of the spectrum and being proactive at the other end of the spectrum, or think of it differently, at one end of the spectrum, problem solving all the time, and at the other end of the spectrum, problem defining, where would you consider yourself on each of these two axes for our viewers?
Whenever I have come across a problem, I will not say whenever, but most often whenever I have come across a problem, I like to think of it more as a challenge than a problem. Because a problem has intrinsically built into it headache, whereas a challenge intrinsically has built into it, okay, let's do something, right? It's like the person who will go trekking and climb, all those crazy mountains and hang with one rope from some God knows where. The same person will crib that the lift in his building is not working. And on one side, the trek is an adventure. He's still climbing. It's an adventure. But the other side, it's a problem because you need to climb up to your house. Right? And according to me, it is just that attitude that is required when you want to take up whatever challenge, problem that life throws at you.
There is a Chinese word for that called Weiji. It has both the problem and the challenge in the same word. Yeah. Absolutely right. What we have been producing so far, I call it diminishing leaders. Now, these diminishing leaders are the one who tell you what to do all the time. They create the fear around you so that, you're afraid to talk to them and you're afraid to not follow their decision making. the tribe of diminishing leaders are now going to come down dramatically. You need people who are multipliers. What does multiplier does? It works with the capability and the capacity of the people, as you rightly said. And it says, how do I use the capability and capacity of the people to execute the jobs? To actually think about the strategy, I also use them. And now, if you see, what is the role of a multiplier? It's a very simple role. His role is to engage them. His role is to create a platform of safety where they can operate without fear. His role is to stretch them to achieve their goals. And more important is help them to innovate and self-develop. How many leaders do that is a big question mark. And therefore, I think change has come from a technical quotient leaders, TQs I call it, to EQ, to emotional quotient leaders. That shift is happening now.
That's beautiful. On this whole shift from IQ to EQ, I have something to say. But before that, Baba, your thought?
Yeah, I agree with Kewal. I have, through my years as a person in Art of Living, this is more or less what I have done with all our volunteers, with all our teachers, that Dinesh and I have always created a safe space for them. And that safe space allows them to take risks because they know that someone has got their back. The second, again, as Kewal said, was to take people who are experts in their field and not interfere with them. Abhiram and Gauri Shankar, both of them are expert filmmakers. Expert, absolutely. They make the most amazing videos, as you can see on our, on our YouTube channel. They have even made a few videos for Gurudev now. And one of the things that I do is I don't get into it at all. We record the video and then we give it to them and say, you do your magic. Right? We give the experts total autonomy with gentle suggestions once in a while, right? And that really allows them to grow into their field and gives them that sense of accomplishment and that sense of, feeling that I did something.
So Baba, you said, there are two types of people in an organization. I call them artists and soldiers. Experts, they are the artists. You have to give them the freedom. You have to nurture them. You have to see that they innovate all the time. Because without them, the organization will never move forward. And there are soldiers who have to execute and do things, where directions may have to be given, where they will be told what to do. I think if you marry the two properly, then the organization thrives.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. That's where my thing is, where I don't have expertise, I step out.
Absolutely.
And I trust my team to deliver.
Super.
This is such a big topic, leadership behaviors, and again, something I'm so passionate about. But, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So, Abhiram, do we have the picture of the chakras and leadership behavior? Can we show that? So, a lot of what you both spoke about, Kewal and Baba, is what people call the leadership styles. And you see that on the left and on the right. And what you see in the picture is a correlation between leadership behavior and where it arises from. Because on the one hand, you have these behaviors on the left, right? So you spoke about micromanaging, you spoke about holding power, etc. And on the other hand, you have the behaviors on the right, distributing power, delegating, and so on, right? So here's the question again to our viewers. Look at all those traps that you fall into on the left. Are you falling into any of those traps? And you can see perhaps which chakra that is in line with. And maybe Baba and Dinesh might tell us that, that's a chakra can be open or closed at one point. Am I right, Baba, at a point in time?
Not really open or closed, but you could have a bit of energy clogging, if you may.
Right. Okay. So clogging. So if it's clogged, you're slipping into one of the traps on the left. And if it's unclogged, is that the word you'd use?
I think, if there is free-flowing energy, unclogged.
Free-flowing. Beautiful. Then what you see is on the right. So the question really is twofold, actually. Where on each of these axes do you sit? And it's about at any point in time. You may sit on the left or right at one point in time, and it may be different at another. Or how flexible are you across all these different axes? People talk about what's in between those dotted lines. All leadership theory from Harvard and so on talks about being democratic, being coaching, and all those nice things between the dotted lines. But what's interesting to me is what sits below and what sits above. So what sits below is really a baseline. It's a hygiene factor. Nobody talks about it. But how dynamic your energy is, and therefore how pioneering you are in a way, can make such a difference. Since we're talking about reinventing today. And if you go right up to the receptivity in line with the Agnya Chakra, it's this intuition. And to me, this is, 35 years ago, we all measured each other's IQ. Then 25 years ago, EQ became very famous. I think we're back to IQ now, but IQ of a different kind, the intuitive quotient. That's the thought I wanted to leave with you on this. Beautiful. I actually, through the times I've worked with CEOs and, possibly people who've moved from running a country to, let's say, an Asia role and so on. So we're talking top of the house. And I've actually found that learning is not a problem. It's unlearning.
Yeah.
That requires rewiring. What do you think?
It is, this is that Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh thingy only, you need to create, you need to learn, and then you need to maintain that knowledge. And when that knowledge becomes obsolete, you need to have the ability to drop it and move on to the next, move on to what you need to learn now again, So that trinity keeps working, that the creation where you need to learn, and then maintenance. Okay, you have learned it now. Now use that knowledge, hold it, and then when that knowledge becomes useless, then drop it and move on.
When I've worked with people, I find there are a few different things that stop them from doing new things, or that, the unlearning challenge really lies in a few different spots. And one is what you first started with, which is, I just don't have the energy today to do it. I don't want to. I'm not feeling energized to do it. So I like to call that the inertia block. But then there's so many levels of this. There's, what I call the thought block, which is either I think it's not important to my role or to me, or at a more fundamental level, I don't think it's me. And therefore, I'm not doing, for example, Kewal, you talked about networking being important. I know a lot of leaders who don't network because they just don't think it's them. Or they don't think it's important to their role. Or at a more deep level, it's this slightly more experiential, visceral feeling, which is, I call it the comfort zone block. So it can be at any of these levels.
So, Nisheeta, there is no comfort in change. And there is no comfort, no change in the comfort zone. So unless you change, it will never happen. There are umpteen of examples I've said how organizations have changed. There was this consumer division company in the US, and they suddenly needed about 40,000 people to work for them. They went to Quantum Airline and said, your guys are free, can they work for us? I know companies have set up a ventilator plant overnight. Dyson has done it. They were vacuum cleaners, but they changed over to making a ventilator. And, just to give you an example, during the unlock period, I said, okay, what do I need to learn, since we are talking about learning and unlearning? I said, I need to unlearn a whole lot of stuff which I've done as a fundamental. I have to unlearn it. But what I need to learn more, I need to learn about digital. That's something that I need to compete with young guys. Gen Y, who are going to be 75% of the employees now. I need to learn the specific of the company's board I am. For example, electric vehicle. Do I know enough of electric vehicle? Can I join a course on electric vehicle? How do I learn that? I need to be proficient in in certain skills. How do I, bring that skills up? So I think the process never ends. You have to unlearn and you have to learn. And those who have adopted themselves to this process have really changed and done better. And those who were afraid and sat down and said, I can't do anything, will never change.
That's beautiful. And I love your vacuum cleaner to ventilator example. So I have in closing one little example, but again, pictures speak 1,000 words. So what you see here is the quintessential Lego chair and the quintessential Lego postbox that we all played with 35, 45 years ago, right? And Lego still makes this chair and Lego still makes this postbox in different colors and so on. But here's what's interesting. So if you go to the next picture, the chair and the postbox have come together and it makes an ATM. Look hard and you'll see the postbox at the bottom and the chair on top. So even Lego reinvents. And this is like imprinted in my mind every time I think about whether I should reinvent or not. So that was the closing picture. Baba, your closing message?
More people should play with more Lego. Yeah, because if you are doing something like this, if you're constantly doing some creative thing, something that makes you have fun, and at the same time you create, you will find that you are much better at anything else that you do. This is a research that I had read, and I think it is really, really important that people know about it. That when you learn something which is nothing to do whatsoever with what you are primarily doing. So, for example, when say Abhiram learns craniosacral therapy, Abhiram is a filmmaker, but he learns craniosacral therapy, which is an alternative healing modality, completely, totally different from filmmaking. That actually will make him a better filmmaker. Because there's a lot of neuroscience that is there behind that. Let's not get into that. But this is a fact that when you learn something which is completely nothing to do with what you primarily do, you basically become much better at what you primarily do. And that itself should be enough motivation to keep learning new stuff and keep reinventing yourself. And don't stop at V 2.0, keep going.
Fantastic. And let's all go play Lego tonight. Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Kewal. It was great to have you here.
Pleasure.
And I loved those 5 points that you said. They're really, really nice.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, folks. Bye. Very good day.
Very good day.